Number one, we're going to talk about the info pack drop-off. Now, what I mean by this is when you call up a prospect, somebody who does not have a scheduled appointment with you, we would call that a 0 SM or a 0 scheduled meeting. It's the first step of the process. It's getting the prospect interested in biblically responsible investing and then willing to move on to step 2. We use what's called the BRI Discovery Booklet. You can find that in the Inspire Investing Resource Center, the Inspire Advisor Resource Center, or the Christian Wealth Management Resource Center. We do have physical copies that you can order from us, just let us know, or you can print them yourself. Now, this Discovery Booklet is an 8-page booklet that walks a prospect through the discovery of what biblically responsible investing is, all the way to the main call to action, which is to get what we call a moral audit or a moral analysis of their current holdings. The first thing that we discovered when we developed this process a number of years ago was that most clients would agree that they don't want to be invested in unbiblical companies, but the first roadblock was that they didn't understand what they owned or what these companies were actually doing in the first place. And so how do you introduce this concept and get kind of a pulse check or a temperature check of if a client's actually interested or not, or a prospect, I should say. And so this booklet really helps walk through that story of how to see if a prospect is interested. There's a lot of emotion that goes into this step of the game. When a prospect first discovers BRI, it was pretty amazing. We would walk through these. We didn't have anything like the BRI Discovery Booklet back when we first started. We had a version of it, but it's light years ahead of what we had back then. But we would still show people these makeshift moral audit analysis, and it was amazing to see their eyes get really big and for them to go, oh my gosh, like, I wonder what's in my portfolio. And we didn't have this fancy one-page call to action to get your moral audit. They would just ask us. They'd say, I wonder what's in my portfolio. And you'd say, well, I'm glad you asked, because that's really why I'm here today, is to help you understand what it is you own. And that leads you into section 2, which is the moral audit and presentation. Now, some of the common mistakes that advisors make in this first portion of getting this initial appointment is, one, they ask for the appointment. Now, one of the big problems with that is when you call and you ask somebody if they're interested in anything, the answer is always no. Have you ever had somebody call you and say, are you interested in biblically responsible investing? No. Okay. Well, then if they say, are you available for an appointment? No, I'm never available. And so what you want to do is come at it from a very different angle. You want to make it personal. You call somebody like your friend Jim and you say, hey Jim, it's Joe here. I just discovered this great new thing. I'd love to share it with you. When do you have time to chat? I'd love to drop off some information to you. Shouldn't take more than maybe 5-10 minutes at most. I just want to share with you some information I just discovered. You see how I did that there? Never once did I ask, are you interested? Are you available? It's, hey, I've got something I want to show you. When do you have some time? It's a very subtle difference, but it's very powerful. I remember when I was first making cold calls, I was getting no after no after no after no. And then my business partner, Robert, came in and said, well, here, let me listen in. And I kept saying, do you have time, or when are you available? And it was no, no, no. And then when I changed that one verbiage to, hey, do you have time on Thursday or Friday? I'd love to stop by. Oh, Thursday. In the morning or afternoon? How about 3 o'clock? Sure. And my close rate went through the roof. And all of a sudden I'm meeting people all day long just simply by the words I'm using. The second mistake I want to talk about in the info pack drop-off point is to make sure that you make it personal. You gotta share your story, your coming to the realization of biblically responsible investing and how it's really impacted you and changed your life. This gives you an ability to relate to the client right at a spot where they are, because if they're first discovering BRI, they're going to be experiencing a ton of emotion, and you need to give them permission to feel that emotion without any kind of guilt or shame. Because one of the first things that we've noticed that hits especially Christian prospects is, oh my gosh, all these companies I'm involved with and they're doing all these things, like, how could I have been so foolish, or how could I have not known, or whatever. But our culture uses guilt and shame a lot, and so we need to be light, we need to be salt, and we need to give permission to understand and to realize that they may be invested in things they don't agree with. You didn't know. So I would recommend that you come with love. It's to be educational, and you have to understand too that this client or prospect, no matter how well you know them, may not relate with any of these values that you're presenting. They may relate with all of them, but you need to come with an open mind and be willing to be the teacher, be the leader, and let them come to the realization themselves, and not you pushing it upon them. Be relational, be personal, make sure that you connect with a client on an emotional level, but ultimately we're trying to get to the moral audit stage of the game where you're actually showing them their investments.